Okay, now that we have our control channel set up and everything is ready to go, let's go ahead and build a set. And I'm going to teach you how to build your Sunday morning set and then turn it into a template so that every time you fire up Ableton, you have kind of a skeleton, a framework to work from to build your sets, so that building your sets takes not much time at all. And I'll give you an example of this. So when I go up to create a new project in Ableton, I say new live set. Let's not save this. It pulls up a template automatically where I can just drop my songs in each week, and all of my loop sections, my control channel stuff, my video, it's already there. So it only takes me 10 to 15 minutes just to drop the songs into their proper place and then line everything up timing wise. Really simple to do. The way that I did this is I took a completed Sunday morning set, I stripped all the tracks, all the regions out, and just left in my key header tracks and all the stuff I wanted to stay week to week. And then we saved it. So I'll show you how to do that. But let's start from scratch and build a Sunday morning set so that we can get our template from it. So I'm going to delete everything, all my markers and all that, and start from scratch here. And we'll go through how to set all of this up for the first time. And you should only have to do this much once. But once you get that template set, it becomes really easy to build it. So I'm going to take from our Foley campus and build one of their Sunday morning sets right now. So the first thing that I'm going to do, I need to get in a central cue track, and I'll show you what I mean. So I hit add folder and added my Ableton files to the sidebar here. So I've got everything I need right in the sidebar. And I have basically a central cue track that I use under this Live 9 tempo project. Right here, this project here, I've got this cues channel that I just am going to pull in. And the reason I pull in a cues channel is it already has the instrument, the drum instrument set up with all the samples laid in right here. It's routed to the wrong output. Let me go to 1, 2 here. And so now when I hit it,
interlude, intro, outro, tag, solo,
I've got all my samples loaded into that drum instrument. And so when I bring in the songs, I just need to copy the cue regions, the actual cues into that track so that I know that all my samples are there. Because sometimes if you use the tracks that are in the song projects, like let me go to First Love here, this also has a cue channel in it, but sometimes the samples can be missing out of that channel. If I stick with this centralized channel, I know my samples are always in the right place. So I'll show you exactly what that means if that's not clear. It will be soon. Just know that I'm going to drag in my central channel when I'm creating my template. So now that I've got the cues channel in there, I'm going to pull control down here. I can go ahead and import my songs. So it looks like they're starting out with Raise a Hallelujah in C. So I'm going to start out by creating a marker for that. I'm going to go to my thing and hit set. And I'm going to leave a little space in the beginning here because if we do end up importing that pre-roll video, I want a little space that I can, then I can come and insert some more time if I need to. But I just like leaving a little space in the beginning of the set for that. So let me rename this Raise a Hallelujah. If that's not clear, it will be in a minute. So make a marker, call it Raise a Hallelujah. I'm going to come to songs. I'm going to find Raise a Hallelujah. And if you're part of Liberty watching this video, then you'll have access to this central folder of all the songs. We're going to start centralizing this stuff. So I'll be building the songs and putting all the cues in and stuff like that. So you really won't have to worry about it, which is nice. If you're not from Liberty and you're watching this because I'm leaving these videos public on YouTube, I will make a video describing how I build out these songs. When I get them from multi-tracks, what I do to add the cues and the marker tracks and how I do all that, I will make a video for that at the end. But for the purposes of Liberty, you guys will have access to this folder. So all you got to do is come to Raise a Hallelujah. Here's the one in C. And I'm going to pull in this entire project and drop it in the timeline. Beautiful. Cool. So now all I got to do is, let's see, I got to copy the cue regions here into the actual central cue channel. And we'll do that. I just got to drag them up. And then I'm actually going to pull this cue channel down into the middle here. and then delete the one I imported. There we go. That's nice. I'm going to pull the control channel down here too, because I think it looks better there. All right, so I have this group of all my stems. I have the my 3 header channel tracks, my tempo track. I'm going to rename that tempo track. I have my cues and I have my markers. Now I just need to take this, select all these regions, and I'm going to cut them. I'm going to go to my marker and I'm going to paste them so that they're in the right spot. And then I'm going to do the same with my stems. Select all my stems, cut them, go to my marker, paste them. All right, good. Raise a Hallelujah is in place. So we're opening with that. It looks like they do not do a turn and grade anything. They go straight into the second song. So I'm going to find where a good transition point is.
2, 3, 4.
Going into this last refrain, let's see where I want my intro to start counting in.
Ending.
2,
3, 4.
let it ring out for a minute. Probably want it to start, because it's going to be a 2-measure count in before the intro, so I probably want it to start about here. So I'm going to set a marker right there for the next song to start counting in. And that's going to be Living Hope. So let's rename that Living Hope. And that's going to be, let's see, it looks in the key of C. So I'm going to find Living Hope here. Living Hope. Looks like I only have it in E flat, but that's okay. I'll show you how to change the key of it real quick in case you don't know. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this this pink audio region back to the marker, because as soon as that hits the marker, I want it to start counting the next tempo. I don't want it to stay on this tempo, because we're ringing out the ending. We don't need the tempo to keep going there. So we just want to pull that pink region back to the marker so Living Hope tempo can come in. So I'm going to pull in the entire Living Hope project. It's going to go to the beginning because Ableton is weird. So I need to copy my top 3 tracks. Notice these tracks import in the same, well, give me one sec. Notice these tracks import in the same order. So I can just copy these 3 channels. Let's see. And then paste them at the Living Hope marker. All right. And there we go. So Living Hope will start there, and now I need to come to my stems. I'm going to leave them in their own group. The top 3 channels, the tempo track, markers, and cues, I always put in the same 3 channels, but I always leave the stems completely separate because I kind of want them to overlap a little bit. So I'm going to cut those. I'm going to go to the marker, and then I'm going to paste them just like that. Sometimes I've got to pull these out to make sure that they're the right length. And then these 3 empty channels, I can just delete those. Perfect. And now let's test our transition and see how we like it.
1, 2. Intro. 2, 3, 4.
If I feel like that's a little long, because Living Hope is kind of a slower tempo, it goes from 82 to 72, I can just go ahead and expand this group again. I'm going to hold Shift to select all of these, and then I'm going to hold Command to unselect that group because I don't want to move it, and then unselect my control channel. And I can just drag this back to the intro point that I want it at. So let's put it about there so that transition comes a little sooner.
Ending. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2.
And
Intro.
turn the click on
2,
here.
3, 4.
It's a little better transition. So let's hear that with click.
Ending. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2.
So we're ringing out, and drop.
4.
So it's nice to kind of overlap on those ring sections. So as they're holding that note, they're also listening to the count into the next song. So it kind of seamlessly transitions, right? Cool. All right, so we got that 2 set up. Oh, and notice this. Apparently I didn't have all those tracks selected when I moved that. So I'm just going to go ahead and delete these. Select all of these, and then pull it back out to the right length. Pretty easy. All right, last song is going to be here. Oh, you know what? I did forget. Living Hope is currently in E flat. This track is in E flat, but we want it to be in C. So I'm going to select. I can transpose all this stuff. I'm going to hold Shift and select all of that, and then double click Oh, actually, I'm going to double click and then select all of them because that's how that works. And all I got to do to change the key of this, it's super, super simple. I just got to hit the warp button. And then we're in E flat. We want to get to C. So that's down 1, 2, 3. So I can, once I hit warp, I can then hit the transpose and just drag that down to -3. And it goes to the key of C. So let's, one important thing is we need to select the type of warping we're doing. And I'm going to go down to Complex Pro. That seems to work in most situations, either Complex or Complex Pro. Take a listen to what they sound like, but Complex Pro is usually the one I go with. That's kind of the algorithm it uses to transpose. So it's really important that you use the right one. Otherwise, it can sound kind of warbly or watery. But I like Pro for most things. So let's take a listen to that. It's going to end.
2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Intro, 2, 3, 4.
Not bad, not bad. And then I'll come and I'll basically like mute the channels I don't want. So say I have a drummer, I don't need the acoustics, I don't need the electrics. I might leave 1 or 2 of the electrics in, some of the ones that kind of are really drony. Because if I only have 2 electric guitars, I want to leave in the really general rhythm parts just to fill out some more space. And I might drop it about 6 dB just because you want that underlying thing to fill up the track. But you can do that to taste. I usually leave 1 or 2 electric guitar tracks in just to fill that space, but let's take out the background vocals, and that's it, and we'll mute all that. So we'll do the same for Living Hope. I want to take out the guitar parts. I always listen to these to figure out which ones I want to take out, but there we go. All right, last song. Let's see, is going to be... there's Build My Life, and then there's Here Again. So I'm going to do the same thing with Build My Life. And then Here Again as well. So I'm going to skip ahead a little bit and just build this set until we get to the last thing here. So here we go. While I'm doing this really fast, I just wanted to make a note that when you make a new marker, you want to make sure that you're dropping the next song in on a downbeat, on a next measure. And the reason is because I want that click to come in on the downbeat.
1, 2.
There have been some situations where I've had to start the song kind of like in the middle of a measure. And if I do that, it's really important that I come here and put a time signature change in. And if I do that, it'll stay at the time signature. I have it at 8/8, so it's subdivided, but it will start the downbeat again wherever that time signature change exists. So if I do want to shift it like half a measure, a third of a measure, or whatever, but I want that click to stay consistent, it'll reset it, right? But I usually try to avoid doing that. I'll usually just make sure that I drop the song in on a downbeat on a measure here, just so that it's right every time. So just a note I wanted to add. Okay, we've got all our songs in. We're done with that section. We've got all the transitions set up here, and this set is fairly simple. There's not a whole lot of like transitional moments happening. It's pretty much just song to song. So we've got everything laid out that way. We've got everything timed and spaced the way we need to, and then we've got all our tracks warped into the keys that they need to be in. So it looks like there is a kind of a meet and greet section, maybe a little bit of a host moment afterward. So what we can do is we can add in a loop section at the end of this. And I'll show you this. Basically, what I like to do as the song is ending, I like to count back into whatever section we're going to be jamming as people are talking. So, like, say a host comes up and is like, "Hey, welcome Liberty," and the band is jamming behind them. Well, if we want to jam, say, that chorus section again as the song is ending, I'm going to go ahead and copy a chorus cue here. And I'm going to paste it on the ring out so that it'll count us back into that jam. So as it's ending, bum, and we're ringing and the host is coming out. Welcome Liberty, and it counts the band back in. And now we're jamming the chorus section as the host is talking. And you can, we'll make that ring a little longer. Let's make that a three measure ring, and then it'll count us back into that chorus section right there. So now I need to create a loop section for when the host is speaking and the band is jamming behind them, right? So first thing I'm going to do is I want to make sure that jam is in the right tempo. So I'm going to take my tempo region and just extend it out for that loop section so that the tempo stays consistent as we're jamming, right? And now I need to create a marker at the beginning of my loop section, not back here behind the chorus, because every time it loops, it'll loop and trigger that chorus counting again. I don't want that. I want it to be right after. So I'm going to set that marker. I'm going to call this one the host loop or host jam. Host jam. And now I need to use my control channel to make it loop, right? So I'm going to create a note at the end of that. I am going to make sure this has no input. I'm going to make sure that, I'm going to make sure that this has a note assigned to it. So I'm going to write in, let's say like a C-2. And I want to assign that C-2 to this marker. So I'm just going to click on that. I'm going to go into MIDI assign mode. And then I'm going to click on the marker and play the note. And it's going to assign that C-2 to the host jam. So now I just have to turn off MIDI assign mode, and every time I play that, it's going to loop back to the host jam. Just like that. Super easy. So now it'll just loop that until we're done, and it looks like for this set, there's a video right after that, so they can just hit the stop button. Now, I want to finish this up, I want to assign keys that are shortcuts to each one of these markers, because I want to be able to jump around this set pretty easily. So I can either assign like a MIDI controller, go to MIDI and then assign a MIDI note from a controller to each one of these so that a button on my controller goes to each song. Or for some, if you're at the laptop, you can assign keys to these. So I usually like to assign numbers to these markers. So I'm going to click on that, hit 1. So this is key assignment mode. I can assign number 1 to that, 2 to that, 3 to that, 4 to that, and 5 to that. And that way, when I hit the numbers, number 1 will go to 1, number 2 will go to 2, 3 will go to 3, 4 will go to 4, and 5 will go to 5. Some other key assignments that I really like, I like to have a follow mode. So you can see I've got F assigned to the playhead follow. The reason I do that is when I'm zoomed in and I start playing, I want that, if I hit F, it'll stop following the playhead, and I can kind of scroll around and stuff. And then when I hit F again, it'll jump back to that playhead. I like having that option and all that. So those key assignments can be really good for editing, for making stuff like a lot quicker to edit, things like that. So I always make sure to have a few of those. C is the click. I like having C as the click. That kind of thing. And you can kind of customize your layout. But so this is a really, really simple sermon setup with only one loop section. Let's create one more for the reprise or for the invitation. If we wanted that to be a different song or a different tempo or something like that, all we'd have to do is it's as simple as just setting a marker. We'll set it at the end of this just to make it look prettier. We'll call it invitation. So invitation. We'll set a new control channel region here. Let's make the invitation note. Let's assign it to a C#-2. And then again, I'm going to assign that note. Go to MIDI assign mode, assign that back to the invitation so it'll just loop it. And then for our invitation, I'll assign that a key of, we'll say I for invitation. It makes sense, right? So now, when we're done with the set and we're jamming, host gets up, talks, we pause it, we get off stage. When we come back up, my Ableton person just has to hit I and play, and it starts looping that invitation. I do want to extend this region. I'm gonna extend this audio region if I want it to be the same tempo. If I want it to be a different tempo, I can come here and just kind of split that. So I'll take this and turn it into a different audio region, and then I can change the tempo on it to something else. So my invitation can be a little faster. Perfect. See if I can get into, there we go. So that's a really simple way to set your sets up. I've got loop sections. I've got all of that. And in the next video, I'll go over how to do the two external control things that I have. So in the next video, I'll talk about the pre-roll video and how all the syncing works with that. And I'll also talk about the main stage control. They're pretty much the same process to set up, but I'll go into specifics on Pro Presenter and on main stage to show you how you can get those things to sync up. But that's a really basic overview of how you set a setup. Oh, one thing I have left to do. Okay, so we have our set. I'm gonna save this as our Sunday morning set, right? So let me just save this live set. I need to create the template from this though. So I'm just gonna save this to my, wherever. Let's call it Sunday set. Last part, I need to create the template so that I can repeat this and do it over and over again. So all I got to do to turn this into a template is I just got to delete the groups of stems because we don't need those for the template. And then delete all the regions out of my tracks, because these are the tracks that I want for that template, right? I want that tempo track to stay there. I want the marker and the cues and the control to stay there. And then I just want to make my markers something generic. So I'm just going to call them like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we're going to turn this Sunday set into a template for, and we'll keep host jam and invitation just like that. Great. So now I have a really basic template that I don't have to mess with a whole lot. All I got to do to save this and make it pop up every time I create a new set is come up to Live, Preferences. I just got to go to the File tab and hit Save Current Set as Default. Once I hit Save, boom, there we go. It'll save it as a template. I'm not going to hit that because I already have my template set up. But every time you go to create a new set, this will pop up and you're ready to just drop songs in those slots, right? So again, I'll open my default set and it'll have all of the stuff from my service already there. I got my loop sections with my main stage stuff and my pre-roll video all ready to go. So I hope that helps. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. If you're part of Liberty, you can always text me in our group and let me know. I'd be happy to help out or remote into your computer and, help you as well with stuff like that. But yeah, in the next, we'll talk about setting up our pre-roll to fire and then setting up these main stage control sections if that's something that you want to do. So, all right.